Good day and welcome to Westchester Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com. I'm John Marino. We are produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by our good friends at Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center. We thank you for all you've done for our region throughout the years. By Robeson Oil, the house that's service built. By Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. And by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. On the Beat in Westchester, we are back with John Bailey. John Bailey is the publisher and editor of the Plains CitizeNet Reporter, Plains CitizeNetReporter.com. John Bailey, here we are, reopening, seemingly going full blast, kind of. Are we reopening too quick around Westchester? What's the feeling you get from those you talk to?
Well, as you know, I am a news recluse, so I don't get out to talk to too many people.
You talk to people from right where you are sitting right now.
Exactly, reaching out across the universe.
Right.
But be that as it may, my gut feeling is in 2 weeks to 3 weeks, you will know. Because that is when people that catch the coronavirus will be showing as new infections. Now, I think the vaccine has done an admirable job the last 2 months in knocking down the coronavirus, basically a less than 5% infection rate of all tested. Even in big quantities, it's about 0.004.7%. This is a tremendous achievement by Pfizer and Moderna and the vaccines that are obviously doing a great job. And so therefore, I'm confident. On the other hand, if people aren't getting vaccinated and they are not getting vaccinated at the pace needed up in the 6 other Westchester mid-Hudson counties, Dutchess, Rockland, Ulster, Putnam. I mean, that's where you're going to perhaps have a problem.
Now, we are hearing that we might need booster shots come September, October. Makes me think that the effectiveness of the vaccines will start to wear off in July, August.
Well, then they really better gear up, don't they? They better gear up. I mean, if that is really true, that you're going to need boosters, or whether or not this is just a way to keep giving vaccine shots and they don't really know, I think it's, they quote, don't really know.
And I think they don't really know, too, because we heard at the beginning that vaccine protections would last a year. If you had coronavirus, your antibodies protection.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Now they're backtracking on that. You say September, October. If you got a vaccine in December, that's 9 months. And people I talk to also say that there may be long-term antibody protection. So there seems to be backtracking on that, too. We're back in that realm, I think, of we don't know, and reopening the way we are, I think is a test run, like you said, to see what's really going on. How effective have these vaccines been? How effective might they still be?
Yes, well, we will know in a month.
We'll know.
They were really late. They were really lucky that they had such lousy weather in Westchester last weekend.
Around the whole tri-state area, Memorial
so
Holiday Weekend,
lucky
a washout.
Because it spared the first big holiday weekend. It was a gift from God, that bad weather, I tell you.
Maybe not for businesses like out in the Hamptons or down the Jersey Shore that needed that money, that cash from the weekend, a key weekend for them, especially after missing what they missed last year. But like they say, money comes and goes. You can make it up. You can't make up people's lives. Let's see what happens when we have some sunny weekends in the weeks ahead and people gather outdoors and indoors and see what the numbers are after that.
Playland opens up full tilt, and it'll probably be totally no restrictions by that time. I mean, the rush to open up the theaters, for goodness sakes. Every theater in the theater district is a fire trap anyway. You can't get out of there fast, period. But you also you're squinched together, and they want to open at full capacity for tourists. Please.
That's what it's all about, is it not?
Yeah.
Bringing tourists back, bringing the money in, making up economically what we lost. I predicted in my mind the past couple of years, that we would have some kind of reopening of some sorts. A year ago for Memorial Day weekend around the tri-state area we did, and that we would kind of open almost full blast for this Memorial Day weekend. About 10 days before Memorial Weekend, New Jersey Governor Murphy was saying, well, we can't do this. We can't open that. We don't have enough people vaccinated. Come Memorial Day weekend, what happened? You had all these crowds out and about on the Jersey Shore. You could go into pretty much anywhere you want to go now in New Jersey, take your mask off. That was a mighty quick change, I thought, boosted by Memorial Day being upon us again like it was a year ago.
Politicians want to get the economy back to normal so they can take credit. That's all they want. They are not really making prudent decisions, in my opinion.
Are we guinea pigs in all of this? Are we guinea pigs now?
Yes. Yes. I mean, look at what happened in Germany. You know, I mean, we got the lab over there in Europe. Everybody wanted to get back to normal. They did, and now it's out of control. Out of control.
India, Brazil, nations that we've heard about right throughout this pandemic. India came along a bit later. Brazil has been a mess for a long time. They're not getting people vaccinated as quickly as they can. Maybe they don't have the supply in those countries. Who knows? But the numbers for vaccinations are not good. Other locales like Argentina right next to Brazil, Bahrain, Taiwan, you have cases spiking there. We had about 10 days ago also, we had cases spiking atop Mount Everest, where you can touch the clouds, basically. So if COVID gets up to the top of Mount Everest, if it can get you there, it can get you anywhere.
Yeah, I had thought that that had we had a severe winter, it would tame down the COVID, but it didn't. We had a longer second wave than a first wave. Are
health officials around the area seemingly worried about another wave come this fall?
Well, it depends on whether all those youngsters get vaccinated.
I saw a picture from a crowd on the Jersey Shore, all young people in a bar, masks off on Friday night, I believe it was. Weather wasn't good, but they were out there, out and about. And that tells me people who want to get out there. And the attitude may be amongst many, well, COVID be damned. Whatever happens, happens. If I get COVID, I get COVID.
Well, that's really stupid.
I know.
I got to tell you, you don't want to get this.
I know somebody out in the Hamptons who had it and was laid up for 5 weeks last year and said to me, you know, John, I'd rather get COVID again than get a vaccine. At which point I said, I don't think I can. And I can pretty much, I think, come up with a response to most anybody about most anything. I felt like the Affleck.
I don't know what movie he is playing.
Yeah, I said, I'm not sure what we have to talk about at this point. Then I felt, remember the old Affleck commercial with Yogi Berra where Yogi's in a barber chair and he talks about Affleck and he says, they give you cash, which is just as good as money. And the duck goes, eh? Well, that's what I felt like, right? I felt like the Affleck duck when that person said to me, I'd rather get COVID again than go get a vaccine. I felt like the Affleck duck. I did everything but say, huh? Because you have no real answer for that.
No.
At that point, you just have to move on.
Yes, but what can I say? It's fascinating you rattled off all those countries because that says to me that tourism is dead. It is a dead industry.
What about variants that we don't know about? We have variants from India here, showed up in at least 13 states. First we hear the vaccine, well, we don't know if it works against it. Then we hear, yeah, it does. Pretty quickly after, we don't know. So how could you know a couple of days after you didn't know when it takes time to figure this stuff out?
Well, because I don't know. There's a lot of
We
real
don't know,
bad
right?
information passing along, which
Yeah.
is really at the heart of things. I mean, the Biden administration has to really take control, and their first big announcements on COVID 2 weeks ago were mixed messages. One day it's, oh, you have to wear a mask. The next day you don't have to wear a mask. A major public relations disaster.
Well, I'll
They
put it to you
create,
this way.
yeah.
I know
I mean, really,
somebody.
a gaffe. And what happens? The woman's CDC head does it.
Rochelle
That's so
Walensky, she threw out
sad.
the first
Usually
ball,
women
first
are
pitch at
better
Fenway
than
the
that.
other day.
She
Yeah.
must have been, she was pressured. She was pressured by politicians to ease it up so that they could open up and get the economy rolling again. So everybody gets reelected in the fall.
Right.
That's
You know,
all
on
it is.
Memorial Day, Rochelle Walensky got to throw out the first pitch at Fenway Park in Boston. I'm going to interject this. I know someone who got a vaccine, asked their doctor if vaccines last a year. And his doctor said back to him, well, I got my vaccine early on in December. So talk to me like Christmas time this year, because that'll be a year right then. And I can give you a much better answer as to whether or not vaccines last a year at that point. I think that's what it all comes down to.
Well, nobody knows because they've just started it. You know, the trials of these
6 months into it.
vaccines were not very long, and usually, but you know what? It's easy to second guess, but I am absolutely appalled at the official fumbling of information. I really am. I mean, right now is where you really need a united policy. But no, we've got Governor DeSantis saying he's not going to allow cruise ships to require vaccinations. I read that today. That's insane. I happen to recall cruise ships that had major outbreaks of years ago, and it hurt the cruise industry for years. And you get the COVID ship, where are you going to dock them? How are you going to handle them on a cruise ship?
Which we had that problem early on during COVID. We had a couple of ships in that
Governor
situation.
DeSantis is a dangerous person because he's not very smart. Otherwise, he would never require that. It is not a problem. It's a private business. He can't tell a business they can't require a vaccination. It's a private business. But then, you know, there's a state of mind of certain governors in this country now that think they're little Trumpies, you know?
So what's the source of all this mixed messaging that we get from one side, from the other side? They seem to try to meet in the middle. They may do for a day or two, then the messaging is back where it was. Is this all about money, all about respective economies in locales and counties and states and across the country, nationally?
Well, this year, every state in a union, every town, every city has been bailed out by the American Recovery Act. It's not going to be there in the future. Are we
going to get more stimulus, do you think? More federal stimulus?
It's all they have to do is print the money. And no, I really am concerned that things are not going to get back to normal. Last month, White Plains local sales tax, we were down 13% still. And that was
down 13% in White Plains?
Yes.
Across
down 13%.
1 month.
In 1 month, April.
Yeah.
That was last month when we were
During
getting all
reopening,
sorts of
as people
news.
are getting out there more and more, and the stores are becoming more crowded, White Plains City sales tax went down 13%?
That's correct.
That seems like the numbers were misplaced somewhere there, and yet they're not.
No, it's just because that's what happens. The sales tax receipts are a true indicator of where the economy is.
No question.
In contrast, the county was up 12% over last year. The county was up 12%.
All Are people in White Plains afraid to spend right now, fearing what might happen again? Is that the reason for this?
Well, the only thing you can go and spend on is in malls.
Right.
And in bars and restaurants. And they just did start, opening up. Now, there's also the young people factor. But they're not coming into White Plains, I don't think. Now, White Plains is a very free of crime city, so it's not the crime. Now, I do not understand why the sales tax was down. I'm waiting for the figures in June to tell us what May did. Mm-hmm. If it is still down that way, it was only up $100,000 over last year's horrible spring sales tax.
Now, that's incredible.
No, but that's why I file. You don't need Paul Krugman to tell you what's happening economically. All you need to do is the exact figures from the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. Mm-hmm. And nobody reports that except me.
Should we look at the summer
because it's easy.
White Plains, at White Plains CitizenNet Reporter.com? John Bailey reports it. He is the publisher.
So the county has to be a little concerned about this. Mm-hmm. The county has to be concerned. They wiped out their entire deficit from 2020 by the stimulus. And they still have a ton of money left over, which they're probably going to use to cover all the raises, which Governor Latimer, I made the mistake already. If I'm doing it, a lot of other people thinking about that.
Okay,
but anyway, County Executive Latimer has to be a little bit concerned because he's not going to have but he's going to have that money this year.
Should that stimulus money from the feds that the county got, should that to help out White Plains?
That's right. Exactly. White Plains is getting, I think, 24 million. We got 12 million the first part of this year, which clears up our sales tax deficit, but they were frugal and they're going to get 12 million later in the year. And that will cover them in case our sales tax continues to nosedive. But
all right. So is this a case of maybe see you in September where we can look at sales tax up or down or pretty much flat in White Plains? Let's see how it does during the summer. And then in the fall, we can reassess where the numbers are at that point. We're talking 1 month down 13% April.
Yeah, right.
That's 1 month.
Let's
see what happens during the summer.
That's right.
Okay.
Let's see what happens in the summer. We don't have a beach. Okay.
No beaches in White Plains, but beaches over in Rye and Portchester and New Rochelle along the Sound Shore area. We have beaches up and down the Hudson River from Hastings all the way up to the Putnam line and, of course, throughout the Hudson Valley, up the Hudson. The Hudson River may not be the place where you want to step into the water, but, you can go relax on beaches along the Hudson as you can along the Sound Shore. Reopening, Rye Playland, beaches, parks, outdoor venues, etc. What does that look like right now with the Memorial Day holiday weekend all said and done?
Well, it was a disaster.
Into summer.
It was a disaster at Playland. And that is not good for Playland.
Why?
Because it's not good for Playland because next year that amusements company is going to take it over. I forget what it was. They've settled. The county was blindsided by the bankruptcy courts, and they never thought they would lose that, but they did. And so now they had to settle with, I'm just having a senior correspondence moment here. Amusements. What is the amusements company is going to take over Playland? They are going to do it next year. County is running it this year. If the county cannot get the attendance back up to where it was, will the amusements company pull out? That's the big question.
It might take a few years to get attendance back to pre-pandemic levels.
Well, there's going to be less people to go, too.
Right.
We lost a lot of people in Westchester County.
Right.
And
Isn't this the key for Playland to be able to attract people from other areas? A lot of people from the Bronx, New York City come up, obviously, and from other counties too. People come from Greenwich, from Fairfield County. Got to get the other Hudson Valley counties involved too to come over and get people to come down to Playland. Could this come down to a marketing problem from this point on, that the better your marketing,
spend a lot of money on advertising. They'll have to spend a lot of money on advertising.
Right.
But, they have this, the COVID money is like the cigarette money years ago that the Spano administration got. They dropped it all on expanding county government. All. And so this is what may very well happen next. Expansion of county expenditures to spur the economy. And that would definitely be an option in this coming preparation of the next year's budget. Because if the economy isn't humming, then it probably will. But I have no guarantee of that. And because a lot of buying habits, as you know, have changed. I mean, and driving habits, man.
All right. And the new budget, the new county budget is about 6 months away, correct? In December?
Yeah. And they're going to have to start looking at that based on
I know you will, and I know you'll
numbers.
report that at Plains CitizenNet Reporter.com. Has Westchester received what it should, stimulus-wise, from the feds, trickled down to the county, to localities? Have we gotten enough money from the feds, number one? Has that been distributed the right way locally throughout Westchester so everybody gets their fair share of the pie and hopefully the portion of the pie that they need to get back to financial solvency?
Well, I mean, we have not had a press conference from the county on all of the things they're doing with the infrastructure that I can remember. We have a press conference today on making sure sewage treatments are not smelling as sewage treatment plants aren't smelling as bad as they do. So, I mean, they have their eye on a lot of things, but it would be nice if they had an infrastructure special on what they are doing around the county and why they're doing it where.
All right, so how much will Joe Biden's infrastructure proposed plan, his proposed bill, affect Westchester, or not that much at all? Because what you're talking is part of infrastructure, and it's roads, it's bridges, it's rails, it's transit, it is sewers, it is utilities, it is broadband, water systems, and much more.
Yes. Well, you've got the MTA, which has a tremendous construction for the future program based on yesterday's commuter tallies.
Right, but doesn't the MTA always have a huge infrastructure program that they would like to implement years and maybe a decade or more down the road? It always seems that way with the MTA.
Yes,
they always have something new.
Yes, the only organizations that do not have infrastructure programs are news organizations.
Yeah, I guess we do. Well, we kind of in our own way, right? Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that the news organization used to be a public service oriented business.
Right.
And now it's being taken over by Chicago Tribune, gone with the wind.
Daily News.
Yes,
what's going to happen there with the new
I
ownership?
mean, they are shadows of their former selves. There's no more of the big investigation reporting because it takes bodies and brains to do that. And,
the Hartford Courant, same thing, owned by the new owners of the News and the Chicago.
And this is a real problem. I mean, the industries that need the beefing up of the infrastructure money, they're not getting it. I mean, you're not going to have one dime given to news organizations.
News media, okay.
No,
right. But news media and everybody else, we travel across roads and bridges and rails and tunnels. We get on the subways, on those trains. We get on Metro North, the Hudson, Harlem, and New Haven lines, the LIRR, Long Island Railroad, all the facilities and obviously the services that we have available to us around the tri-state area, New Jersey Transit, the Connecticut transit system, et cetera. They all interact as one around this tri-state region. Do you think we will get what we need from the feds in this infrastructure plan to get us moving in the right direction? Maybe the gateway finally gets done between Lower
apparently
Manhattan
they
and
approved that this week, I believe. Did they not?
What's that?
The tunnels, they approved the tunnel project.
Okay. Like I said, maybe they finally get done. Approval is one thing, getting it done is something else. For example, at the Holland Tunnel, they've been working for over a year now, every weeknight, Monday through Friday, on a Superstorm Sandy repair recovery plan a decade later, to which I say, if these are, and they are tagged as, I believe, as emergency Sandy
repairs. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago.
Sandy was a decade ago.
Yes.
You have emergency repairs a decade later going on a 2-year program. I believe this is like, why wasn't this done in 2013?
Look at the Exit 7 and 8 project that took 10 years right here in Westchester, 287. And you know what?
Yeah.
As I said to my wife last night, I said, you know what? The whole problem is they just move it down about 100 feet to 200 feet, and the traffic just resumes as is once you merge on. You just prevent the backup in the wet place. It was a stupid project. It was a terribly stupid project.
And you build a new Tappan Zee Bridge right next to the old one. Same idea, same area as the 7A and 8 rehab work. By the way, with that work there on the thruway, before, I knew for decades what was the route, what was the right way to go every single time. Never had to think when I was on 287 heading up north toward Rockland County. Now, after a few years of this restructuring there and the rebuilding, every time I go that way, I have to stop and think, okay, John, which is the right way to go? Because they kind of reversed what direction you go in. North was south, going south is now going north. And it's a thought process. You do it for decades. They change everything around. Now, what's it going to take? Decades to really have it planted in people's heads and in my head, which is the right way to go there when I'm heading west.
And the bridge still backs up.
The bridge still
exponentially
always
on
back
weekends.
up. That's just the way it is, I think. That's just the way it is.
It was, there was supposed to be traffic mediation, but there hasn't been. So
no. And there is an investigation, maybe not mediation, but investigation of the building of the new Tappan Zee Bridge and whether or not there were structural problems early on and whether or not they were whitewashed over.
That is an old story revived when they were criticizing Cuomo about 2 months ago. And it was decided at the time that everything was fine. But what are they going to do? Redo the bridge? No.
So the governor's dealing with that. He's dealing with all these other legal issues about how he handled nursing homes in the early days of COVID, about his book deal, about whether or not he committed sexual harassment against a number of women who worked in government. Where is this investigation with Attorney General Letitia James standing right now? And let's look at the new Siena College poll that shows more people in New York State would vote for, more Democrats in New York State seemingly would vote for Letitia James for governor in a primary over Andrew Cuomo right now.
Well, Letitia James has a problem. She's investigating a governor. They have 70 witnesses that they have to, what is the term?
I've heard over 100 now.
Now, that is not going to, that is a conflict of interest. She's delaying the decision. You have to move this, and she's just making sure. And it will not come out until after the election.
We heard 60 days is what we heard, that this would be wrapped in 60 days. I think we're at that 60-day limit right now.
Well, it's not going to happen. Do you think it's going to happen? There is no, look, if she finds that there was a situation, what is she going to do? If he violated all this stuff, and how come no one has actually filed suits in court against the governor on this whole issue? I find that highly suspicious.
So
if
do
you
you
got
think
a
this
case
was a
with
concerted
the
effort to get the governor?
litigious lawyers love these kinds of suits.
Right, no question.
Where is Gloria Allred? You know, she handled the Weinstein suits, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But to my way of thinking, the lack of actual court challenges to the governor. Like, remember when Adam Bradley was deposed?
Right, former
Yes,
mayor of White
that
Plains.
only happened because he was sued. If his former wife did not do that, that case would never have been pressed.
Okay, so do
you
you
need
think
a
this
suit
was...
to have some punch to your argument, I think. Now, of course, what happens. I think, I do not know whether the governor is going to run again. I would presume he is going to try. But if someone has to step it up and primary him, and right now the primary is only what? It's 22 days, right? 20? Nobody's going to primary. Nobody's primarying him. What does that tell you? It means they don't think they can beat him.
Right. Well, we have the June 22nd to 2021 primary coming up. The governor's race is next year, obviously, 2022. But do you think all of this was a concerted effort to try to get the governor? And if so, by whom, maybe?
Of course it was to get the governor, because the legislature cannot stand him, and he's a roadblock to their own advancements. What happened? When the governor's powers were running out, they took it over. They said they wouldn't renew them. Okay? And the governor was perfectly happy. Why? Because now all the decisions that he suggests to the legislature, the Assembly and the Senate COVID Emergency Committee Task Force or whatever has to approve it. So everything now that the governor suggests that the Assembly and the Senate approve, that's how stupid they were. They were stupid to do that because now they own it if the recovery fails. They own it lock, stock, and barrel. And then they'll say, well, we didn't know. Of course not. They didn't know all along anything. They didn't pay attention to it.
Nobody knows for sure until you do it and you see what happens.
Exactly. However, I'm just saying that you never want to take the leadership role if you're a politician of the tried and true variety. Few politicians can lead. They just see which way the wind blows. And what was the wind blowing? Oh, we have to get the economy going. That's what people were screaming. We have to get the schools opening. I'm dying here with this kid at home, you know, and I can't make money. So, and that's why I think they did it. But then again, that sexual harassment thing, that comes up. That has been going, many of these took place 2 to 3 years ago. Where were they then? Where were they then? Not that I blame them for coming out, but do it then.
Do you think Letitia
filed a lawsuit then when he did it?
Do you think Letitia James, part of her intent was to see if maybe she could pave the way for her running for governor? And if so, do you think she will run and primary Andrew Cuomo, especially looking at these new Siena College poll results?
Yes, but she has no money. She has no money. The only way you can win a governor's race is with big time contributions. And I don't know if she started fundraising, but if she started fundraising, then that would tell you. And she has to start like this summer.
How about the Republican side now? We have 3 announced candidates already. We have the one-time Westchester County Executive, Rob Astorino, who ran for governor in 2014 and was defeated by Andrew Cuomo. Rob recently, last fall, conducted a race for the 37th state senatorial district seat covering northern Westchester, Putnam, and part of Dutchess County. He took on the then incumbent Pete Harcum. Pete Harcum eked out a victory, which took some time to finally determine, counting all the votes. We thought Rob Astorino had won it first. It turned out Pete Harcum was reelected in the end. Also, Andrew Giuliani, the son of the former New York City mayor, Rudy Giuliani, and many thought he would run for mayor. Instead, he's running for governor. And Lee Zeldin, the Eastern Long Island congressman who has a national profile, especially due to his support of Israel. Lee Zeldin, I can tell you, having worked on Long Island too, is very popular, let's say from Route 112, that corridor east all the way through the Hamptons. He's got a pretty big following out there, and he's won by some pretty big electoral numbers in a district that carries many, many, many a Democrat as registered voters.
Well, look, Suffolk County is Suffolk County. And what he has to do, anybody winning the gubernatorial has to win New York City. He's not going to do that. And
who would win New York City amongst Andrew Giuliani, Rob Astorino, and Lee Zeldin right now?
I think Astorino is, what's he going to run on? What is his message? No new taxes? That's getting old. And but it all depends. If Governor Cuomo runs again, he will win.
What about a wild card in the GOP race? Maybe former Governor George Pataki gets in. We've heard that he's thinking about it. He is so dismayed at the way Andrew Cuomo, in his mind, is running New York State that he thinks he could be a potential solution.
Well, Mr. Pataki is perhaps, before Mr. Cuomo, was the last really progressive governor we had. He did a lot for the handicapped, he and his wife, and I'll never forget that. I have a disabled child, and it was at a time when nobody was even talking about the disabled because they didn't vote. But Mr. Pataki established New York Cares, group homes started to grow, and it really helped the situation, and nobody has done anything about that since. No talk.
Why would George Pataki want to leave or maybe take time away from his very successful political consultancy and all the other work that he does too? He's still a power player, a major power broker in this state.
Well, look, I think he's channeling the rise of Biden against all sorts of competition. He looks at, look, when you get to be Mr. Pataki's age, you are still feeling that you have a lot of experience, a lot to share. He's been out of the public eye for many years, and maybe he just feels, hey, we got to straighten this out. And really, he is a leader. I mean, and to my way of thinking, what I see about this Democratic field running for governor that could run against Cuomo, and the Republicans, I see no leaders there. I see no
John,
leaders.
You took
None.
a recent trip to New York City. We talked about infrastructure. We talk about traffic around Westchester and the tri-state region too. The traffic to me is getting worse and worse. I'm going to peg it from right before Easter, the weekend before Easter. You could see out there on the area roadways how much more traffic is out there with reopening going on and people wanting to get out and not thinking maybe that they should be a bit more cautious. They want to get back to their previous pre-COVID lives. We've seen so much more traffic in Westchester and around the area. You took a trip to Midtown Manhattan from your Westchester home. What was that like, getting out of Westchester, getting down to the Bruckner Expressway, getting down and driving down the FDR and into Midtown?
It was like Thanksgiving Day back in the early 60s when you tried to drive out to Long Island to go to Thanksgiving dinner. And it's like that every day. I was a 45-minute drive into Manhattan from where I live took an hour and 45 minutes.
So you were flabbergasted.
I certainly was. And I go the Bruckner Expressway because I had to go down the FDR Drive because
And that's a mess down by Hunts Point with all the work they've done there. It really is.
I do not understand that. I mean, I don't understand what they're doing down there.
The work in both directions is causing traffic jams right now on weekdays, even on weekends too,
The
till 10
Bruckner is
o'clock at
bumper
night
to
and
bumper.
beyond.
The Bruckner is bumper to bumper at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. That has never happened. I mean, hey, they start opening up Yankee Stadium for 50,000 people. It'll take people 12 hours to get home.
Yeah, I think we can think back 20 years to those days.
Do not take the Bruckner at any cost. And the FDR Drive had tie-ups on it too, 3 separate delays on the FDR Drive. But of course, that's always been a brutal road. And, but truly, and then when I got home, I left my friends at about 3:40. And bingo, it took an hour and 45 minutes again getting out because I was into the rush hour. So New York City, make no mistake out there, friends, it's back to normal already. But the worst traffic I have ever seen in the off hours because of the construction that is beyond belief. The Bruckner, whoever decided to redo that road, it didn't need it.
Think back 15, 20 years when we had those massive lottery drawings in New Jersey and everybody wanted to get in on them. We had traffic coming down from Fairfield County, Connecticut, from Stamford. You'd have I-95 backed up from Stamford all the way down through the Bronx, over the GWB, and into New Jersey. I think we might be getting back to something like that now without any lottery winnings at stake, any big lottery jackpots at stake.
Well, you report traffic. And
in one of my other ventures, yes.
That's right. And my feeling is right now, the only good way into Manhattan is the West Side Highway.
What about a helicopter?
Well, I'm thinking of if you have to go into Manhattan for any event, you have to allow at least an hour extra from your usual.
No question. If you're coming out of Westchester or above the city, north of the city, you should go take the West Side Highway. That's the best way.
And there is absolutely one thing the NYPD should do when you have a guy running in New York City. All of a sudden, a lot of police show up. How about having police handle the traffic on these squeeze downs during the construction, like they do in Rye Playland? And they have never done that. In all the years I've driven to New York City, I have never seen police directing traffic when there is a construction merge, when there's an accident merge. They never step. Maybe it's because they feel the motorists won't stop.
Maybe they're busy doing other things, or maybe they're not allowed to do this, as you suggest.
Well, they have the traffic, the brown-shirted traffic patrol police. We saw one of them getting people on the FDR Drive last night.
By 62nd Street, maybe? Was it by 62nd?
No, it was at 23rd Street.
At 23rd. By 62nd, 63rd, they generally have somebody there. They have for a number of years. Yes, not sure how well that works, but at least somebody is there directing traffic.
Yeah, they should have more traffic police. Now we've reached the period of continuous infrastructure construction in New York City. It's going to be that way for a long time. And right now, the traffic, the businesses may not be back to normal, but the traffic is above normal heavy, above.
And so it's only getting worse, I think, for the summer. I think it's going to be a bad
COVID traffic. It's COVID traffic is what it is.
It already is, no doubt.
People are not taking mass transit. They don't want to.
No, they don't want to, and they're going to get on the roads, and that is a safer way to go right now in many ways because of crime and because of fear of COVID. John Bailey is the publisher, editor of White Plains CitizenNet Reporter, WhitePlainsCitizenNetReporter.com. John, as always, we thank you. Let's talk again in a few weeks. Who knows what happens between now and then?
Only the shadow knows.
Only the shadow knows, and maybe right now, maybe even the shadow does not know.
Shadow does not know.
No,
Yes.
that's not good.
Whatever happened to shadow
does not
traffic?
know.
Whatever happened to Fred Feldman? I mean, there was
whatever
traffic.
happened to him? Yeah.
He passed away, but nowadays,
Gridlock Sam. We owe our lives to him this summer. Let's see what Gridlock Sam comes up with between now and the holidays are almost here, 6 months away. Forget about the holidays in the city of things if people don't go back to taking mass transit. Gridlock Sam might wish he had a double at that
Christmas
point
and Thanksgiving
to help him
at home. We're spending Christmas and Thanksgiving at home this year.
Yeah, stay home for Thanksgiving. Stay off
Stay
the road.
home, period.
Stay off
folks.
the roads now.
You don't want to get out there. You don't want to.
So, walk to the beach if you could. You hear all this talk about how everybody who wants to go green and have us drive electric cars and turn us into Europe, everybody in a bicycle.
That'll be the day.
With all this traffic going on here right now, they might have something with that. I never agreed with that before, not on a grand scale, not even at the scale we see right now. I think it's very intrusive and very dangerous. But with all the traffic we see around this tri-state area now, you know what? That might not be a bad plan. Get us out of cars, get us on bikes, get us into electric cars, got to stop the car.
Yes, but you got to do something about the traffic because while you're sitting in your electric...
That may be the only way to get rid of the traffic. Get on a bike and go.
Yes,
right. Get on.
But while you are sitting in traffic, like I was sitting in traffic yesterday, your battery is running down.
Right. Exactly.
It's all over for you because
it's
going to
stop. Plan, I think.
And every electric car is going to stall. New York
Get on an e-scooter.
I
see them popping up more and more. Revell and another company I think now out there is called Lime, and I'm sure more to come. We'll see. So let's pedal away and talk again in a few weeks, Sean. Look forward to it.
That'll be the day.
That will be the day, as Buddy Holly did once say. Here on Westchester Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com. I'm John Marino. We are produced by Sharc Creative, and we are made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, supporting our communities right through the summer. In the spring of 2021, we thank them for all they've done throughout our area, throughout the region, throughout the years. Thank you, Entergy at the Indian Point Energy Center in Buchanan. Also by White Plains Hospital and by, too, our good friends in Armonk, Michael Labriola, Landscape Design and Construction, and by Robeson Oil, the house that service built. Catch all of our Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Orange, and Fairfield County programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube.